Because when I look at Christianity historically, I can see all of the ingredients, because I can see the Jewish foundation. I can see the apocalypticism. I can see the Hellenization. I can see the Greco Roman environment. I can see theology changing as circumstances change. I can see a movement developing. I don't need somebody sitting in a room secretly inventing Christianity. What if Christianity just didn't fall out of heaven like a lot of y'all think, What if it developed? What if the religion billions of people believe came directly from God actually makes a lot more sense when you look at the cultures, politics, and religion surrounding the people who created it? Christianity didn't appear in a vacuum. It came out of Judaism, but not the Judaism of Moses, not even the religion of ancient Israel. Christianity appears after hundreds of years of conquest and exile and cultural mixing and Greek influence and apocalyptic thinking and foreign rule, y'all. And when you put all that together, Christianity starts looking a lot less mysterious. And I want to show you why. How's it going, everybody? You already know who I am. I'm the Jewish Skeptic. And today we're talking about something I've been thinking about for a while now. Christianity, the mystery cult of Judaism. Now, hold on. I ain't saying Christians literally walked into a mystery religion, stole their rituals and changed the God's name to Jesus. That's just way too simple, y'all. Historians have debated similarities between Christianity and ancient mystery religions for a long time, actually. And direct copying is much harder to prove than people on the internet sometimes make it sound. Just being real. My argument is different, though. I'm asking, what happens when an apocalyptic Jewish movement develops inside a Hellenistic Greco Roman world already filled with gods, saviors, initiation rituals, sacred meals, and mystery religions? Because that's the world Christianity came out of. And to understand that, we got to go and start way before Jesus. Okay, y'all, here's something that completely changed the way I looked at the Bible. The religion of ancient Israel didn't always look like first century Judaism or even the Judaism you see today. Go far enough back and scholars will sometimes use the word Yahwism. Yahweh was the primary God associated with Israel and Judah. But that does not mean every ancient Israelite believed Yahweh was the only God that existed. Even the Bible keeps complaining about Israelites worshiping other gods, Baal, Asherah, foreign gods, high places, idols, over and over again. Why would biblical writers constantly tell Israelites to stop worshiping other gods if nobody was worshiping them? Archaeology and biblical texts themselves show us a religious world where exclusive monotheism was simply sitting there fully developed from day one. That's important. And already I can see something. Religion develops, belief develops, theology develops, and then everything changes. Sorry about that, y'all. Y'all could have told me my camera was off. I saw it was angled like more towards my bookshelf or whatnot, so I had to fix it. All right, but cool. In 586 BCE, Babylon destroys Jerusalem. The temple is destroyed, right? The monarchy collapsed. People are killed. People are displaced, and part of the Judean population is taken into exile, right? I know y'all know this. Now imagine what that does to a people. Your God supposedly protects your nation, right? Your God supposedly chose your people, right? Your God has a temple. Your God supposedly gave your king authority Then another empire rolls through, destroys the temple, removes the king, takes your people away, and apparently their gods just beat yours. That's not just a military crisis. That is a theological crisis. And now you've got to explain what happened. Did Yahweh lose? Did another God beat him? Did Yahweh abandon us? Or maybe Yahweh allowed Babylon to defeat us. Maybe this isn't about Yahweh losing. Maybe Yahweh controls Babylon too. See what just happened? The disaster can now become reinterpreted. Instead of our God was defeated, it becomes our God used our enemies to punish us. And that is an incredible, powerful way for a religious identity to survive catastrophe. Then Persia enters the picture. King Cyrus conquers Babylon in 539 BCE, and under Persian rule, displaced communities were allowed to restore local religious institutions. Judeans were permitted to return, although many Jewish communities remained throughout the diaspora. Now we're entering the Second Temple world, people, and Jewish identity is being rebuilt. Torah becomes incredibly important. Community boundaries matter. Who belongs matters, worship matters. The temple matters. Scribe matters. Obedience matters. And the understanding of Yahweh increasingly becomes bigger than simply Yahweh is our national God. Now we're moving toward Yahweh is the God of everything. And here's something important. The Babylonian exile doesn't magically create Christian style apocalyptic Judaism overnight. This transformation takes centuries. And then Alexander the Great conquers the region. Now we're moving into a Hellenistic world. And this is where people sometimes imagine Jews living in some religious bubble. Y'all, no. Like, Jews were living inside the same world everybody else was living in. Greek became one of the major languages in the Eastern Mediterranean. Greek culture spread. Greek education spread. Greek political institutions spread. Greek philosophy spread. And Hellenistic influence reached language, literature, architecture, education, philosophy, and religion in Jewish communities too. Scholars have argued that by the Second Temple period, it actually becomes difficult to neatly separate Judaism from Hellenistic Judaism. And that's exactly what we need to understand. Cultures don't live in sealed containers, people. People trade, people migrate, people marry, armies conquer, languages spread, ideas spread, religions respond, and most importantly, religions change. And while all of this is happening, Jewish religious thought keeps developing. Now we can start getting closer to Christianity, because during the later Second Temple period, especially during the Hellenistic era, we start seeing Jewish apocalyptic thought become extremely important. And now we're talking about a religious world that's filled with angels and demons and cosmic battles and evil kingdoms, divine judgment and resurrection, the end of the age, the righteous being vindicated, heavenly secrets, and God eventually stepping into history and fixing everything. Think Daniel. Think 1 Enoch. These are major texts in the development of Jewish apocalyptic tradition. Daniel's apocalyptic material is commonly connected with the persecution under Antiochus IV in 2nd century BCE, while parts of 1 Enoch developed across the late 1st centuries BCE. I think that's right. Matter of fact, I know that's right. And notice what happened. Notice what's happening. Foreign empires dominate the Jews. Babylon, Persia, Greece, eventually Rome. And now, when you're constantly living underneath powerful empires, you can understand the appeal of, don't worry, God is about to intervene. The empire might control us now, but God is going to destroy it. You know, the wicked might win now, but God will judge them. The righteous might die now, but God will raise them back up, you know. You see where I'm going? Because by the time we reach the 1st century, the theological soil for Christianity is already there. Christianity did not invent apocalyptic thinking. Christianity was already born inside of it. All right, y'all, but there's another piece, because the Jews aren't just surrounded by apocalyptic Jewish movements, you know. They're living inside this Greco Roman religious world, and that world was loaded with religious options, different gods, different temples, different cults, different rituals, different philosophies, and what historians call mystery religions or mystery cults. Now, these religions weren't all identical. That's important, and that's why I slowed it down a little bit. There was no single thing called the mystery religion. You had traditions connected to Demeter, or Demeter, as some people will say, the code of Isis, later Mithric mysteries, and others. Some involved initiation. Some involved purification. Some had secret rites. Some offered a special relationship between worshiper and deity. Some addressed questions about death or the afterlife. And they were part of the religious market of the Mediterranean world in which Christianity eventually spread, folks. And this is why my question matters, because now we've got two worlds sitting right beside each other. And on one side, you got Jewish apocalypticism. God's kingdom is coming. The evil will be defeated. The dead can rise. Judgment is coming. A transformed age is approaching. While on the other side, you got a Greco Roman religious world filled with personal religious experiences and initiation and sacred rituals and different paths towards divine favor and salvation. And then guess what? Christianity appears. Okay, Christianity begins as a Jewish movement. That's not controversial, y'all. Academic histories regularly describe early Christianity as emerging as a millenarian or apocalyptic movement within Judaism. Its first followers are Jewish. The scriptures are Jewish. Its Messiah is Jewish. Its God is the God of Israel. But then something happens. The Messiah dies. And normally that's a pretty big problem for a Messiah movement. Rome executed him. Game over. Except the movement doesn't end. Instead, his death gets reinterpreted. His death becomes part of God's plan. His death becomes sacrifice. His blood becomes salvations. His followers believe he has been raised. Now, death didn't defeat him. He defeated death. Then you get baptism into Christ. Believers participating symbolically in his death and resurrection. A communal meal centered around bread and wine identified with his body and blood. Salvation through this figure. Gentiles joining the movement without becoming full Torah observant Jews. And eventually, this Jewish Messiah becomes a cosmic savior for humanity. Now stop. I am not saying, see, Christians copy mystery cults. That is not my argument. My argument is much more interesting. This religion developed inside a world where these religious categories already existed. People already understood initiation, sacred meals, human divine relationships, salvation, immortality, mysteries, God and divine figures interacting with humanity. Christianity didn't develop on another planet, y'all. It developed in this world. All right, y'all, let's put everything on the table at this point. Ancient Yahwism, then exile, then post-exile religious reconstruction, then Persian rule, then the Greek conquest, then centuries of Hellenization. Don't forget that. Then Jewish apocalypticism, then Roman occupation, then a Jewish Messiah movement. Then that movement starts spreading among Gentiles throughout the Greco Roman world. And from that process, Christianity emerges. So when someone tells me Christianity could only exist because God revealed it, I have a question. Why? Because when I look at Christianity historically, I can see all of the ingredients, because I can see the Jewish foundation. I can see the apocalypticism. I can see the Hellenization. I can see the Greco-Roman environment. I can see theology changing as circumstances change. I can see a movement developing. I don't need somebody sitting in a room secretly inventing Christianity. That's not how culture works. That's not how religions works. Ideas mix, ideas evolve, communities reinterpret old beliefs when new situations happen. And sometimes those new interpretations become completely new religions. And this is where it gets uncomfortable for me. Because once I started looking at Christianity this way, I started asking another question. How much of Jesus is actually Jesus, y'all? Now, listen carefully. I'm not telling you historians have proven Jesus never existed. They haven't. Historical Jesus scholarship generally worked from the position that there was a first century Jewish Jesus behind the movement, while the scholars continue debating what we can reliably reconstruct about him. You know, maybe there was an apocalyptic Jewish preacher named Jesus. Maybe he was crucified by Rome. That's perfectly possible. But that's not the same thing as proving the Jesus of Christian theology, people. Because look at what happens to this character. And I'm going to go slow. Jewish preacher, Messiah, resurrected Messiah, Son of God, Savior of humanity, pre-existent divine figure, agent of creation, conqueror of death, future judge of the world. Those aren't all the same historical claim. So when I say I question whether Jesus was real, what I'm really questioning is, where does the man end and the theology begin? And I'll go even farther. I'm opening to questioning whether there was a historical Jesus at all. But I don't need to pretend that's the majority scholarly position. I don't know. And that's okay. Because even if there was a historical Jesus, that still doesn't prove Christianity, people. A real Jewish preacher can exist and legends can develop around him. Theology can develop around him. Stories can develop around him. A religion can develop around him. Those are separate questions. And before somebody run to the comments, let me make this painfully clear like I always do. I am not claiming Judaism copied Persia. I am not claiming Christianity copied Mithras. I am not claiming Jesus definitely never existed. I am not saying cultural influence automatically makes a religion false. What I am saying is much simpler. So make sure you understand this. This is what I'm saying. Christianity can be studied historically, just like every other religion can. And when we do that, we see development, we see cultural influence, we see political circumstances, we see religious evolution, we see human beings interpreting the world around them. And once I saw that, the claim that Christianity is obviously the one supernatural religion standing outside human history became much harder for me to accept. So is Christianity literally just a Jewish mystery cult? That's probably too simple. But did Christianity emerge with a Jewish apocalyptic Messiah movement developed inside a Hellenistic Greco Roman religious world? Absolutely. And that's the point. Because instead of starting with Christianity is true, now let me explain history through Christianity, I started doing the opposite. I started with history, anthropology, culture, religion, politics. And then I asked, what explanation best fits the evidence? And when I do that, I don't see Christianity dropping out of heaven fully formed, folks. I see ancient Yahwism. I see exile. I see Persia. I see Greece. I see apocalyptic Judaism. I see Rome. I see a Messiah movement. I see Greek speaking communities spreading that movement across the Mediterranean. And eventually I see Christianity. And maybe that's why Christianity looks like a religion that developed in history. Because maybe that's exactly what it is. I'm the Jewish skeptic. No fear, no dogma, just clarity. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Do you know what I found? The more you know, the less you know.